Hello and welcome. I am so excited to introduce to you today Ravinder Taylor, a seasoned mind science researcher with a deeply inspiring journey from triumphing over racial bigotry in the UK to healing herself from rheumatoid arthritis. Ravinder's life has been a testament to the extraordinary power of the mind. She's transitioned from a biology lab to a 30-year career in psychotherapy, hypnotherapy, and researching mental empowerment, culminating in her book, Mind Training: The Science of Self-Empowerment. Ravinder makes complex neuroscience approachable and practical, sharing tools anyone can use to break free from self-limiting behaviors and live a life of greater happiness, health, and fulfillment. And I am Luci Gabel, integrative leadership trainer, author, speaker, and your host on leadership, life, health, and happiness. Ravinder, thank you for being here. I can't wait to unpack some of your great insights.
Thanks, Lucy. Thanks for having me on. And I'm happy to talk about anything that you find interesting, wherever the conversation goes.
That sounds perfect. Ravinder, your book is packed with research studies. I loved it. It feels to me like the premise of your book, as I saw it, is that our brain is programmed very early in life, and the lessons we get are tucked away in the subconscious. And our subconscious is really making most of our decisions, even as adults, unless we take time to know how our brain works and work on making the necessary changes to that deep inner mental program.
That is extremely close, Lucy. Yes, our choices are made by the subconscious mind. Lots of that programming is from our childhood, but the programming continues. It is going on all of the time. And research has shown that it's making it based on old information. So just because, say, for example, we were embarrassed as a child at a public speaking event of some kind, and then as an adult, we have that reaction. So we sabotage our own attempts at getting ahead in our careers, because with any advancement in a career, you invariably have to do some kind of public speaking, even if it's only in a small group. So you can sabotage stuff, and it comes from the programming in the subconscious mind. Now, you want to remember, first of all, the subconscious mind doesn't want to hurt us. That's not why it sabotages us. It sabotages us so that it can protect us from repeat pain. So with the example I gave, being embarrassed as a child speaking in front of the class doesn't mean that we're the same person today. And so it doesn't mean that we have to avoid getting into that situation again. So there is a great deal of that comes from our past. We have a negativity bias, so we hold on to all of those things that have hurt us or upset us a great deal more. When it comes to self-improvement, we've all been taught about affirmations. Just create these positive affirmations, put them on Post-it notes, stick them up everywhere. People will wear T-shirts with positive messages on them. And I'm not saying that positive messages don't work, because they do. You want to surround yourself with positivity as much as you can. But think about it, Lucy. If you say to yourself, I am good, what comes back to you? How do you feel when you say, I am good?
I think it depends on who you are, right? I mean, for some people, it might be, of course, I'm good, right? And maybe for others, it would be, really? Am I good?
Exactly. Am I good? What does good mean? I try to be a good person, but I can bring you back a whole spiel of stuff. You can come back with, well, I'm not really good. I was kind of impatient with my husband. I was cross with my dogs. What does good mean? You have all of this stuff that comes back. And this wraps all the way back around to the subconscious mind, Lucy. We talk to ourselves all the time. On a bad day, say if you're feeling depressed, that self-talk is going to go along the lines of, my life sucks, I hate my job, people hate me, I'm no good at this, I always fail. Self-talk. said we talk to ourselves. There is non-stop chatter going on in our minds, and that self-talk is a reflection of what is in the subconscious mind. Now, if you say consciously, I am good, you can have all of these arguments come back. You can say consciously, I'm happy on a day that you're having a really bad day. You can say, no, I'm not. That's baloney. That isn't true. I'm having a horrible day. This happened or that happened. This is really important because the subconscious mind carries all those self-sabotaging beliefs. They carry the beliefs that you're not good enough, you're not capable. And if you don't think that you can achieve something, you're not going to try your hardest.
I was reading in your book about words and how important words are, and I am a firm believer in that. One thing that I specifically liked was that you said that if we concentrate on positive words long enough, we start to affect areas in the brain, including thalamic regions and the way we perceive reality. Could you share a little more about that?
Words do have an energy to them. They have the emotion to it. They reach the emotion. So if you're constantly surrounded by no, don't do this, or danger, or warnings, then your body responds automatically. It will respond automatically. So the hormones that deal with stress will get turned on. Those happy chemicals will get turned off. So yes, words do have a great deal of impact, and there has been research done on that. Andrew Newberg in Pennsylvania did some of that research. What I like to focus on more, though, yeah, it all comes down to words, but it is to do with how we talk to ourselves. It's the beliefs, it's the ideas and the concepts that we hold within ourselves that influence how much we can achieve. And this has effects in lots of different areas. This isn't just about improving your own life, but it can be how you parent your children. If you're constantly telling them no, they shouldn't try something, and it's really easy for new parents to be overly protective of their kids. So it's constantly, don't touch this, don't touch that, don't. And that don't just causes the child to freeze up, and then they don't take risks anymore. And children have to learn to take risks. That's how they learn to walk. It's a risk that when the child is learning to walk, they're going to fall down. When a child is learning to climb on a frame, there's a possibility that they're going to fall. So they have to have the positive, yes, you can do it. So their words can have a huge impact, and it goes all the way through, goes, to adulthood, how you talk to your subordinates at work, the people working under you. You can bring out the best in them, or you can bring out the worst in them just based on your beliefs.
So that brings us right to the best point for me to ask you to explain a little bit about the Pygmalion effect, and then also the Golem effect and the Galata effect.
Galatea effect.
Okay.
There was research done in the 60s, I believe. Rosenthal went into an elementary school, and what they did there was lots of tactics used. Now, there was a special test, and they said because of the test results, these particular students were likely to be the brightest. Now, it turned out that it wasn't real at all. They had picked names at random. But when they tested the children at the beginning and throughout, what they found was in that first year, there was like a 15% increase in the children's test scores when the teacher believed that they were gifted.
Are you saying that the Pygmalion effect is affecting the teacher or affected the students to do better, or both?
The Pygmalion effect is when the authority figure believes in the person that they are teaching. So it's a two-way effect. And it's not only in schools. They've actually looked at this in the workplace. They've looked at it in the military. They've looked at it in sales organizations. When the person in charge believes that you are capable of achieving great things, then you will get a lot closer to achieving it. And it does make sense. I remember one instance, this is way back early on. I'd only just started working and I had a boss who was really cranky. It was difficult. So I was nervous, but I was trying to counter out simple coins and I was just trying to get up to 30. And I had a mixture of these coins. And for some reason, because he was standing right over me. Now, there's nothing wrong with my math ability. I have a degree from university, Yeah, isn't anything wrong with my abilities, but having him stand over me, glaring at me, hurrying me along, do you think I could do that? I just kept making
Isn't
mistakes,
that
having to start
so
again.
interesting?
It was
Right.
ridiculous. Now an extreme example, but these are things that affect all of us. I think we can all think of examples where someone didn't believe in us and we're aware that we're tripping over our nerves. We're not performing as well. And so that was some of what we found out with the Pygmalion effect. They found that when the authority figure believed in you, you did better. The golem effect is this opposite side. When the authority figure doesn't believe in you, you don't achieve as much. And as I said, they researched this in lots of different arenas. There was research out of Israel with the military, and they did exactly the same kind of thing where they told the commanding officers there that these certain cadets were destined to really succeed. That's precisely what happened. But then they reversed that around. So then they did these pre-interviews with the cadets going through training. And they said, as a result of the test that you took, it has been demonstrated that you are likely to do extremely well, or words to that effect. That was one group that was tested, and that group did do better. So this time it wasn't the authority figure that made the difference. It was the fact that this person had been told, you took this exam, you did well, you are likely to be top of the class. See, what happens is it's not that someone tells you, it's not that the authority figure tells you that they don't think highly of you. It comes across in micro cues that you receive. You can tell when someone doesn't like you. You can tell when someone doesn't believe in you, and that's going to get you to step back and put your guard up. That's normal. We all have that. You can tell when someone believes in you and is interested in you, and then you reach forward and you go in. And so Galatea effect is one way that you can get out of this whole process of being influenced by the people around you when you believe in yourself enough. But stop and think about it, Luci. With mind training, it's not about being the absolute best. It's about being the best version of yourself. It's not allowing other people to put you down. It's not allowing old beliefs to hold you back and sabotage you. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. It's self-actualization in all areas. Success doesn't have to mean just career and money. It can be to do with finding the right relationship. It can do with your parenting skills. It can have to do with the kind of friend that you are. It can have to do with your own life. They looked at optimism and pessimism, and they discovered there that more optimistic people will live longer, live happier, have better relationships, be more successful. So when it comes to self-actualizing, you want to reach your best abilities in all of these areas.
And I love that you brought that up as well, because I definitely wanted to touch on the plethora of research that you brought in kind of right in the middle of the book about positivity and how it's not just, something you put a happy face sticker on a bad situation. It's actually training yourself to think positive and all that that does for wellness and health and life that you just started speaking about. That was a dictionary almost of wonderful results on positivity.
There is lots and lots of research that has been done on positivity. There was a longitudinal nurses study, and what they found in that was how much healthier the nurses will live. So, for example, these nurses, and I think they were keeping a journal, and that was how they assessed the more optimistic people from the more pessimistic people. But the more optimistic nurses had a 16% lower risk of dying from cancer and a 52% lower risk of dying from an infection. They looked at, they said there's lots and lots of research in lots of different areas around this particular subject. So they found that the more optimistic person, if you expected good things to happen, then you were less likely to experience stressful events in the future. Now, it's not that life changed and that difficult times didn't come along, but what happened was the people did not assess these things as stressful. They didn't take them as seriously. It didn't take them down. They were able to ride on top of it and ride through it. So they had fewer stressful events. The positive, the optimistic person lives longer, healthier, happier. It's a really good indicator. And this can sound rather oversimplistic. So bear with me just 1 second. But smiling, the effect of smiling is huge. There was 2 different pieces of research I looked at. One looked at baseball cards and one looked at high school photographs. And they found that when they looked at these pictures, they could predict how long the person would last based on how they were smiling. If the person had a small smile on their face, then they would live on average 2 years longer. If they had the big, broad smile, the Duchenne smile, that's the smile that reaches up to your eyes and gives you all those laughter lines. If they had the big smile on, they would live on average 7 years longer.
Wow.
Other research that corroborates that kind of approach comes out of Cardiff, where they were looking at Botox treatments. It's kind of interesting. But they found that when you had Botox treatments to reduce laughter lines,
Around the
then
eyes.
person could be more depressed. But if they had Botox treatment to reduce the frown lines, then the person would be happier. It's a two-way
Yes.
street.
So how we shape our face affects how we feel inside and also affects our health. Is
It
basically
does. It's a two-way street. I didn't believe it when I first came across it, Lucy. This idea that simply putting a pencil between your teeth, which forces you into an artificial smile, just doing that
I got
between
with
your
your
teeth, not
teeth
between
showing
your
or
lips,
not?
between your teeth. There you go. That forces it, but your brain automatically produces endorphins when you do that.
So wow. So when we're working, it would maybe behoove us to put a pen or
Put
pencil in
pencil
between our
between.
teeth a few times a day.
It makes you happier. Now, it may not make you quite as thoughtful. It depends what work you're doing. Kahneman, in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, he looked at some of this research, and he basically says if you want to activate the system 2 thinking, which is the non-automatic, the conscious thinking, you actually want to think through a problem, then yes, put that pencil between your lips. That'll cause your brain, that tells your brain, things are not that easy, so therefore I need to be alert.
It's like pursing your lips almost when you put the
Yeah.
pencil in between your lips. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind
Creating
of
that
kind of
facial
a frown.
feature that
And said these things can
Mhm.
sound crazy, that they are small things, but the very idea that smiling will cause your brain to produce endorphins is one of the routines that I plug in now. Every day when I go to the bathroom, when I'm washing my hands, I will take a few seconds to appreciate the feeling of the water and actually enjoy the process as opposed to it just being a chore. So I bring in some mindfulness there. But then I will look in the mirror and I will smile at myself. And I will often tell myself something positive. You've got this, Ravinder. And research has shown that if you speak to yourself using your own name, it has more power. So I will give myself a positive affirmation. I'm looking at myself in the mirror. I'm smiling. The whole process doesn't take me any time because I'm going to go to the bathroom and wash my hands anyway. But I'm giving my internal system a positivity boost. And the more you do that, the better it is for your health. You reduce the stress hormones that cause your blood pressure to go up and your immune system to go down, and you bring in the happy chemicals, and you relax and you bring your blood pressure down. But smiling, as we all know, Luci, is very infectious too.
Isn't
So
it?
when you
Yeah.
smile at somebody else, you help them feel good. And I'm a big proponent of be the change that you want to see in the world. The things
Too.
that you do affect others. So like with the Pygmalion effect, maybe it's not to do with your employees or your students or your kids. Maybe it's just to do with helping a stranger feel better when you smile at someone in the street. You smile
So
at them,
true.
they smile back. So it can be a beautiful thing. And it is something so simple as smiling. But in mind training, as I said, it can sound so silly, so simple. And some people say, oh, I'm not going to put a fake smile on my face. So in mind training, I provide all the research behind it. There is hard science behind this, and it comes from lots of different sources. When you put it into practice, you'll find that other people become nicer. People will
Right?
smile back at you,
They
and then
react back.
you are going to feel good. So yeah, it's wonderful.
I've been doing it, but then after I read your book, it reinforced, and now I'm stronger at it for sure. And one specific thing that I've changed is when I'm calling support on the phone and I'm calling them about something that is making me miserable, right? And most of the time when we want to complain or need help with something that's been really a problem, we just want to lash out at that person on the other side, and I remember that I used to do that because, I would feel very angry at the situation. And then again, having run these service oriented companies and being behind the other side of the desk, understanding just how much you're taking on as a human being when people are complaining to you, I decided to just force a happy, just force it, and the funny thing is, it was within a minute and a half at the most that it would be true. I would truly be in a good mood anyway. I would be smiling at the person on the phone. I would say, "How are you today?" "Okay, I'm having this horrible thing. I know it's not you, it's the company that's making the decisions, but we have to talk about this." And after hanging up the phone, like my blood pressure is actually probably in a better place than when I dialed it. And anywhere I go, sometimes, it's like grocery store, whatever. Ugh, I just had a long day. I don't want to smile at anybody, but I force the smile and my life switches.
It does indeed, and it's a two-way effect. I've got this example. I had to have some specialized dental work done. So I saw this specialist, and I came home and would tell my husband, he doesn't like me. This dentist, yeah, he may be the best in his field. It may be wonderful, but he's intimidating me. And then I remembered a technique that we actually teach. So what I did in this example, like, okay, I am interpreting his micro cues as being that he doesn't like me, but what if I'm interpreting it incorrectly? So what I did the next time was I ignored what I saw and I put on a smile on my face. And it was, "Hi, Doc, how are you? Isn't it a wonderful day?" And Luci, you should have seen him brighten up. It
Huh?
turned out that, yeah, he was brilliant at what he did, but he was an introvert. And so he was in his shell and he was just doing his job. And it didn't have anything to do with me. It had to do with him. So by me opening up, smiling and being friendly to him, he could relax and he opened up. and was smiling and friendly back to me. It changed the whole experience. But it can take work. So when you are out somewhere and someone is being grumpy, you know, don't don't assume that your interpretation of the situation is correct. Maybe they're having a bad day of their own. It doesn't have anything to do with you.
Most of the
Maybe
time it doesn't, right? We are so self-absorbed that
we
we think everything has to do with us, right?
We do. We do. I tell myself that all the time, it doesn't. People have got their own issues, their own problems. Comes back to be the change that I wish to see in the world. Spread kindness. If you can be kind to someone, you don't know what somebody else is going through. If you can make their life happier. So if I help somebody, I'll get something back, maybe. Even if I don't, I know that I'm being the person that I choose to be. I'm not being pushed along by external forces. This is the person I want to be. And I believe in time that that will have an effect. You spread that, be the change.
Not only are you making change in the world, but you are seizing your power to have the mental state that you want to have. And I love that. I love to dive into the pessimist aspect and specifically why our brain attaches to those negative phrases or the negative incidents so much easier. Can you talk a little bit about that and why it actually takes work to turn yourself into the positive?
We have a negativity bias that is well known. And it actually makes sense, Lucy, because we have to be alert to dangers. Now, evolutionarily, that mattered because if you weren't paying attention to that rustle in the grass, then that snake can come out and bite you. You have to be alert to the danger. You can miss happy signals, that's not going to have much effect on you, but you miss the negative, you could die. Today, society plays a huge role. We are herd animals. We need society to function. We all need people. It's those interactions that help our brains to grow and develop. Babies that are in isolation, there are certain skills they don't ever learn how to relate, how to communicate, their brains just don't develop. You have to have the right stimulation at the right time. And those people around you have an influence on that. So that's why the negativity bias is so strong, because we need that. If society doesn't like us, if we are shunned, we're an outcast, then we're lonely, we are rejected, we don't have a support network. These things are important, especially, kids in school, the in groups and out groups. They affect you. If you think that everyone's in a group and you're outside of that, then the stress levels in you build, the stress hormones build. It's not good for your health, not good for your mental abilities. John Gottman did work in some of this area. And what he found when we're looking at the practical applications of our information when it comes to the negativity bias, but he looked at couples. And I think he said that he could look at a couple, he could observe a couple interacting for half an hour and predict if they would have a divorce in 3 years. Because once again, it's micro cues that come along, the eye rolls, the tutting, the sighing, the small negative comments, the small put downs. And what he found was that for every negative input that you get from your partner, you're going to need at least 5 positive inputs to put the relationship back on track. So put it the other way around. If you've upset your partner, don't think you can just say sorry and move on. You need 5 demonstrations of love to counteract that one negative.
That's so important.
Now, that's not going to be a hard and fast rule. You don't want to make these into rules. You just have to be aware of the kind of effect that you have on other people and, have an understanding in reverse when someone says something that hurts you. No, in the workplace, if your boss calls you up, gives you a review, tells you 10 good things about yourself and one bad thing, you're going to fixate on that bad thing.
Yes.
And when you understand that, then that gives you a greater respect for how you interact with other people. Your words to somebody else matter. They do.
And it also helps us to refocus. Okay, my brain's going to the one bad thing, but how about look at all these other good things on purpose?
Yes, absolutely. It gives you a better perspective on it. Oftentimes the brain does operate on automatic, and I will often tell myself it's not real. So in the example of one bad thing and 10 good things, it's like, well, stop fixating on that. Look, you can't please the world. I'm an author, so there are book reviews out there or comments. And if someone says something negative, then yeah, I can
Yes.
I feel that, but I also
Yeah.
learn to dismiss it. I am doing the work that I believe passionately in. I'm doing the work that has made vast differences in my own life. You said I've cured myself of rheumatoid arthritis. I've overcome my feelings of insecurity and inadequacy that began with my childhood in Great Britain when we were the only brown family in our school at one point, and that has an impact on a small child. So with all the teachings that I do, all of the research that I have done, I have used these techniques to get myself through that. I've got myself over my own fear of public speaking. There was a time I would never do an interview like this, Luci. I use these techniques to enhance my own relationships. My life is night and day from where it once was, and it is because I use all of these techniques. I use them constantly.
Ravinder Taylor, thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm going to just thank the audience for staying with us. And please leave your comments. Let us know if you have any questions. If this made you think differently or do something differently in your life, we'd love to hear. And I'm going to put in the descriptions ways you can get in touch with Ravinder, as well as a link to her book, Mind Training. I will talk to you next time.